Hello everyone! Today I will take you to see the settings of our roaming camera. Although our name is roaming camera, but in fact, it can also be used as a camera for our editing room. First, the addition of the roaming camera is in our camera. Find the roaming camera in our camera. After adding it, we double-click to switch to the roaming camera view. The biggest difference between the roaming camera is that the bird's eye camera rotates around a central point. Rotation, while the roaming camera rotates around itself. Its own camera. We can see that. We can look up, down, left, right. It is more in line with the natural feelings. But the bird's eye view. Let's go back to this bird's eye view. We can see that it is around such a rotation around a central point. So the roaming camera, including our first-person camera, are similar to this roaming camera. We've already talked about the first-person camera. The first-person camera is a roaming camera that can move. So the roaming camera can also move. How does it move? We press the left mouse button and press W, and you can see it can move. Then if we hold down the W key and press shifts, it can walk quickly. Then use WAS to move left, right, forward, and backward. It has the same effect as usual. This is how we use the roaming camera. We usually use game engines. If you use it more often, must be very familiar with the roaming camera. It is the most commonly used editing camera. The most commonly used editing camera. So you can also use the roaming camera as an editing camera. Of course, the roaming camera also has very important function. As the name suggests, it is a roaming function. We often need to do a kind of such a function of inspection. We can use the roaming camera. We can use the roaming camera to do it. Or first-person camera. Of course, we can also use the following functions. Each has its own effect. Today, we will use the roaming camera to do one, which is relatively simple. So first, we switch back to our bird's eye camera. Then click on the roaming camera. Look, it's here. At this time, we need to reset its rotation. Reset it to 0. Otherwise, its rotation may have some problems. Then we go to our animation section and find the path animation and add an animation to the roaming camera. If we give the roaming camera or other cameras to add roaming animations, when adding a path animation, it will automatically switch to the patrol animation. Now let's assume we want to make a circle around this thing. Let's take a look. Okay, let's follow this. and click a bunch of points on the path. Note that everyone must not click on the sky, because this is also automatically recognized. If you click on the roof, it will fly directly to the roof. After we've finished clicking, see if it's close to the ground. It's on the ground. Then we click Play Animation and click Loop Play. The camera will already follow the whole scene. Now, let's assume we double-click to switch to roaming camera. We'll find it's on the ground, because our automatic recognition is to stick to the ground. How can we make it not stick to the ground? We click on the roaming animation and click Edit. Then there is an offset, and change it to 20. Then click Done. Okay, you can see that it is no longer on the ground. It's a very simple operation. And then, in this way, the overall movement speed will be adjusted according to this. Meanwhile, we also have an option, which is we click on Edit, and then you can see a curved smoothing degree. That is, if we think that the turning of the roaming camera, especially those big turns, if there are too few points, it may not be smooth enough. You can see that the whole effect now. The effect is very smooth. If the big turn is not smooth, you can increase the smoothness of the editing curve. Wait a moment. Edit the curve smoothness to increase. Then the entire animation will be smoother. Of course, the result is that because the animations, the smoothing requires more points to handle. So the overall performance will be worse. Normally, we don't need to drag it. Okay, today we are going to. We'll talk about our roaming cameras. Our roaming camera can be used in the editing state, because it can look up at the sky and look down at the ground, which is different from our bird's eye view. Meanwhile, it can also be used as a patrol animation. The patrol animation is very simple. We selected the roaming camera and add a path to it, and then add a kind of height slice wings. Okay, that's all for today's class. Thank you all.